People come together because they're all nice, they're friendly, they're helpful, they smile at each other, they're friendly to each other. They don't really challenge each other. They do lots of different self-help things, maybe non-violent communication, and maybe kind of art-related things. You start filling up your so-called Buddhist calendar with Buddhist-related things, with nice people, and you're not really necessarily challenging. And my concern is that we move from a Buddhist movement to a self-help group with Buddhist leanings.
There's always a prison pipeline. That's all I can say. I won't say any more. Jimmy, if you get to see this,
You're not going to make it on the final cut either.
People who genuinely care about each other are always going to be able to contact each other no matter what. No matter what.
We discuss the prophecies that God has given me for the United States of America, as well as 7 months before 9/11. I flew to New York City and warned that blood will flow down thousands of your faces, but still you won't repent but join hands with false religions in prayers of blasphemy. You will boast, we shall avenge, we shall rebuild. Skyscrapers will collapse. God knew exactly the Twin Towers was going to collapse. For any love offering of $15 or more, we will send you this video cassette. Telephone World Ministries International, 360-629-5248.
I just want to tell you this, when the day of trouble comes, the next bite, I don't think you're going to have enough room at, because the day will come when your prayers will be so answered. Your petitions and your seeking God, let me get my life ready with God now. Praise God. The good news is this, Jesus is with us. Jesus is going to protect us. Jesus is going to build his church, and Jesus will allow what is built on the rock to stand even in the days of trouble. God bless you. God bless Pastor Hansen. May the peace of the Holy Spirit rest on your church.
It's like a driveway. And then go up this driveway.
In my class, I used to actually bring in different philosophies of the world and how we partly get into our environmental mess by, for example, the Old Testament saying we should have dominion over the earth, meaning we're supposed to run the earth, when everybody knows perfectly well we could disappear as a species and the earth would go right on without us. So we don't have to run it. We like to think we do,
You tuck it in. You tuck it in at the end.
She's right.
You
She's
tuck it in
right.
at the end. Yeah, I think there might be a couple of ways, but I know you tuck it in.
Americans
Fighting
fighting
over how to hold the flag.
yeah,
And we told him he could do anything he
You guys-
wanted.
you guys
That's
are
okay. But see, you're with
busted.
me. I have not made it into anybody's film in 2 years. I have been on every cutting room floor. Well, digitally speaking,
yeah.
there's no
yeah,
cutting rooms
Yeah,
anymore.
yeah. But
Yeah, I have been on the cutting room
That
floor.
means you're out.
Has this been the first retreat for both of you?
Yeah, for both of us, yeah. I find it's the intensity of the meditation, like meditating so frequently, so many times in a day. I've been finding, especially towards the end of yesterday, very beneficial in that it's, I've experienced like emotionally quite a lot in one day just through the meditation.
What's it been like, being new people in this kind of situation?
Well, it's great because it's so challenging, and it's something totally new, and you have the support of the Sangha, and, like you said, discovering your edge of practice, what you need to work on.
Mm-hmm. We got here on Thursday. You are a little apprehensive, never being here before and not knowing anybody, and I think being a little bit younger as well, you feel overall just unexperienced. Very quickly that feeling kind of gets pushed away a little bit because people are very open and very generous with, their time and kindness, and you feel on a level ground with everybody moving forward.
Also, too, for our particular center, there's been a real strengthening of bonds, not just the 5-hour car ride.
7.
7?
I lost
Well,
count.
6 hours with Starbucks stops.
At FW, how have you seen it change in terms of like the type of people that come
Have you seen
through?
it
And
change?
At the present time, we've got this really synergistic energy where there are a lot of people coming to the center who are positive and energetic, who are interested in the Dharma, interested in connecting and making friends. And so I think it's a really positive time that we've got now in Vancouver.
Like, Vancouver's not the easiest place to get into, and it was very comforting to have a place where you could go and have that friendship. Have
Yeah.
people where everybody knows your name. That's the song goes. Yeah. Yeah. It's,
people want you to come back. And there's a nice feeling of continual welcoming.
mhm.
I find.
That's so good to hear, because that's what we want it to be like, and you make it that way too. Well, you're both determined people in your own special ways, I think. It helps.
Yeah. The center in Vancouver, it really does provide that.
It's a home. Away from home kind of deal. We're almost about to outgrow it.
Yeah, that's an exciting challenge
Yeah.
to be at that point, to think about, okay, what now? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
from when we had 3 communities, 2 men's, 1 women's community. Now there aren't any. When those communities were around, there were probably around, say, 20, 25 mitras and order members, whereas now it might be down to about 15. Many of those original people have moved on. So it's definitely changed, and I think that actually had quite a big effect on the confidence of the people involved in the Sangha. We're just picking up the pieces, really.
And this one has been updated and it's now used as a single family home. And then the living space, living room and dining room, the ceilings are extremely high. There are 4 bedrooms, 2 other bedrooms off of the dining or living room area. We have a view of the upper Rattlesnake area over to Mount Jumbo. The current owner has done a fabulous job landscaping. And then you do have additional living space in the back. You can see where it was originally a garage because those doors open all the way, so you could drive in, and then you can go all the way through because both of these doors also open.
In a way, as the order was sort of soul-searching, I think it had its own effects on people who were living in communities who weren't order members, and I think a certain kind of spirit had been, I wouldn't say necessarily lost, but shaken up, and this sort of the kind of idealism that we had for living communally and working together got pretty badly shaken up. I'm not really sure what's going on. I'm not sure what's going on with myself. I've been so busy the last couple of years trying to keep the business afloat, so I've been working a lot. The original inspiration really was to try and create a work environment for people who are trying to practice the Dharma.
You got volume on there?
When I moved here, there were several young people involved, and they seemed keen on doing something like that. At one point, I think we had about 30 employees or so when we had two restaurants, and probably 15 or 18 of us were either order members or mitras. And right now, there's probably, I think we have 21 employees, of which only 4 of us are Buddhists. Family lifestyle is pretty strong in the States, and I think people here work incredibly hard to make a living and raise a family. It's going to take quite a while for any sort of communal living to be established. It could be decades.
It's been really good to just be on my own a lot. I think that's been very healing and very helpful. I've always wanted to live out in the country and have a garden, grow my own food. And that's, one of the main reasons I moved to Montana. I just hated Cambridge. I lived in Cambridge, England for like 18 months and I just hated it. There were just so many people. I just love it here. I never get tired of looking at the mountains, and that's wilderness. You go up in those mountains and there's nothing but grizzly bears. For some reason, I don't seem to be able to meditate very effectively. And I'm not sure whether it's because my life is so different or if I'm just kind of blocked somehow. I'm not sure. It just doesn't feel like this big contrast between meditation and life. Much of my practice is awareness and taking care of these animals. They need for me to look after them. The thing that I feel a lack of is a sense of service. Always teaching and doing things at the center and doing things that, trying to build a community or something. And now that's all not there.
Wonderful. Yeah, I can. We're just pulling into Voronezh now, and
He comes up, most weekends.
well, I'll speak to you soon.
But he
have
often
fun
doesn't
there.
feel physically very well.
I wish I was there with you, but
He doesn't look after himself very well. I have been going down every other weekend to see the gals that I'm friends with. We have a group that we do on every other Sunday. I'm still very interested in retreats and a retreat center, but that seems a bit far off financially and in terms of the current Sangha.
Visit, he said, no, you are the stranger in the strange land.
Namo Dharmaya.
Namo Dharmaya.
Namo Sanghaya.
Namo Sanghaya.
Can I always pop in if there's an FWO centre? I always have that sense of walking into the family, the family house. It's sort of like we're all networked together, even if I've not met most of you before. It's a special thing, connections that we have. Definitely feels quite familiar in a certain sort of way, even though I've never been here. It's a tough thing to be a human being, isn't it? It's like you've got this huge universe out there, and there's 6 billion of us on the planet. So what's my part in all this? Why am I here? What am I doing? And sometimes those existential questions do lead us to wanting to just assert ourselves.
I want validation from other people, but I want to do it in a way that's not conforming to the way you're typically validated. I want to sort of stand on my own and be important over here, and hey, everybody look at me.
And we probably all had this experience to a greater or lesser extent, just by being employed, having to compromise maybe some or just kind of twist your ethics a little bit to fit into what your boss wants you to do, that sort of thing.
Well, I worry that I'm doing it now with the war in Iraq by just not responding. I guess that's conformity. Is by doing nothing, not being active against what's happening. I guess is what you're calling conformity.
Yeah. It could be that. Sort of passively letting the powers that be have their way.
Right. Versus not even having to, do something a little different. It's just doing nothing.
Yeah. How does this work out in our Sangha? Because I don't know how much all of you are in touch with the changes in the wider FWO, and I was wondering what you thought about that. I mean, do you see this theme of conforming rebellion? Is it something that is at work in Seattle Buddhist Center?
Well, we have that. We have people who just want to do nothing but bring in outside teachings from other teachers, and then we've got sort of the hardline traditionalists. So we've got sort of a microcosm of people respect each other's opinions and each other's points of view, and certainly learn from each other and all that sort of thing. But
I really enjoy when order members show up and have the courage to give a talk, and when they're off the wall, as that one turned out to be. I think that it sort of shows diversity.
With his talk, I didn't know where he was going, so I was trying to help him out or trying to clarify things, but I wasn't doing very well. So that's the way I felt. I didn't know what was going on exactly.
I just look at it as another night, and
I think you said best once. You said that it's like maybe dropping a pebble in a pond in London somewhere, and the waves go out, and we're on the edge of the earth out here. And so some of this political aspects of the group don't mean much to us, and we're almost completely autonomous group out here. I think it seems like it to me. I haven't been a member very long.
In England, where the state provides medicine and you could go without working a straight job for years and survive without much fear, a situation we can't relate to in the U.S. And their take on right livelihood has not transported. Usually our jobs fall short of what an ideal is, but the ideal seems to be truly elusive.
There you are. Oh, don't go there. No, not there.
Stay right over here to your left. All right.
See you later. All right, bye bye. Shia. No.
Righty. Grandma's.
Okay, where are we going? And Perna Devi and Char City got married, but that was a while ago. Yeah.
That was last year.
Yeah. What's that about? Do we approve of that?
Well, it's. I like those cups.
How long has this place been here then?
Like 5 months ago.
Oh, okay.
Huh.
That's good. Yeah, we just live around the corner, so
Well,
good.
now we know about it. We will come and eat here sometime.
Let's see, what was there? There's everybody getting married.
Yeah. This has been the year. Oh, and I'm going to be doing a wedding for, do you remember Spike? Yeah, Spike called up the centre. Her and her partner Amanda are getting married, so I'm doing their ceremony.
But there's also Viveka moving in with her boyfriend, and
Yeah.
Shantinaika moving in with his girlfriend. Yeah.
Well, I think what's interesting for me is feeling like in the chapter, I guess it's like me and Donna Maya now. We're like the sad singles. We live in our house with 3 cats.
I feel sort of confused about this around now myself because I've been having a lot of problems with my partner, but I think if I did want to just, have a really simple life, which for me probably means not having sex or being in a relationship. I mean, whether or not I could just do it on my own is one thing, but living with 2 people who are in relationships and everybody else, and it's like you feel in the chapter, you're like, I'm the single one.
Right. It means that everybody who's paired up has their partner that they kind of plan their life around in a way. To some degree, I did when I was
You
in a
have to.
relationship. Yeah, and then if you're single,
They cause you a lot of problems if you don't. Trust me.
But maybe if we did a better job at community, but we haven't created intimate community
No.
in San Francisco.
No.
We've had the women's community is more of a kind of assemblage of people living together.
Well, see, I always say that, and the people that I live with get really annoyed.
I know.
They're like,
I didn't want to. I agree. I mean, I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't say it like a judgment, but it's just how it is. But I mean, I suppose where it comes up for me is, like this weekend, for example, where I was just having a bad week. You know, I was struggling at work. I was trying to figure out what to do about stuff. And I didn't have anybody that I could really sit down with and talk that through with. I think in a partnership, you tend to do that with your partner. And I think that's got to be something we can create in community, but how?
I think there's also, I've also been wondering about, like, just in terms of my emotional life, like if I could get, in a way, like and I don't know if this is due to the culture of my personality or probably both, but like if I could feel close enough to people, like I feel like, I just feel like that's the main way that people relate to each other.
Yeah.
Is, I mean, sure, it's like we're friends, but you know, where do you go at Christmas? You like
on retreat.
Yeah, well, I know, but if you're not on retreat, then you go see your family or you're with your partner and stuff like that. So it's like, I think like really sort of simulating or trying to have, you know, really family type bonds with people.
Yeah.
It's just really, it just doesn't happen that often.
Yeah.
But I think in order to do community, you'd have to have 4 or 5 or 6 people, and you'd have to have people who like weren't gone all the time.
Yeah.
You know, because I mean, when you're not at work, you're at the center, or you're wherever you are. So yeah.
Well, it's like the busyness factor.
Yeah, I think just lifestyle-wise, it's really hard.
I mean,
Yeah.
you know, my busyness, if I just had work, I work 4 days a week, well, that wouldn't be that busy. You know, I'm not in a relationship, I don't have, but the center makes me very,
It's
very,
Buddhism,
very
man.
busy.
Tell.
Yeah, it's like I have a second job.
I'm so like punchy because I've been working so hard. Hello. Are you here for the evening? I think so. Okay. I have a makeup. Okay.
White people on this train, and this tall, willowy man with his hair up in a French twist wearing a sari comes twirling in, and she says, in her limited English, she says, "I'm keen, Q-U-E-E-N." And I wanted to say, wait a second, I'm a sister of perpetual indulgence. Oh my Lord.
Do you remember this, Up in Davis?
Sure do.
This book kind of represents some of the spiritual images from that period. Here's a photo from Holy Cow, which was the Hindu-based theme. Queer spirituality would take different forms.
Are you ready to go?
I guess I am. Should I put my eyes in first?
One of the joys of my life is doing makeup on people, uncovering something about people that's really there. And I don't feel like I'm applying paint so much to people's faces as uncovering the demons and the gods and goddesses and the archetypes that we relate to, you know.
But don't you think everybody should live a day in a dress?
Yeah.
But I guess it's the power of transformation. I mean, that's the connection for me. It's like drag and religious practice are both forms of transforming yourself. I wish this was a daily practice, Paul. It's my favorite form of meditation.
Billy said that he went to a monastery in Asia and they would do a long makeup meditation every day. I never heard anybody else talk about that. But
And then you smear it all away with cold cream, just like the sand paintings.
yeah.
I've always wanted to keep my Saturday night makeup on when I go to the Gay Buddhist on Sunday morning.
You wanna?
We make them tight. It's because they didn't want the nuns to hear things. They wanted them to filter out the external world.
Was that it?
Yeah. ready for the church.
Okay.
India. Which is the illusion?
Yeah.
Welcome to Bingo, girls! Woo!
Tortilla, cheese, and chili, casserole.
Oh, that sounds good.
Saw you last week.
Are we all here?
Yeah.
These are the best lashes on the planet.
You bought 2 extras, right?
2,
There we go. That's right.
Soy un hombre muy honrado que me gusta lo mejor. A mujeres no me falta ni el dinero ni el amor. Jineteando en mi caballo por la sierra yo me voy. Las estrellas y la luna ellas me dicen dónde voy. Ay, 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 ay.
I always think of this as removing one illusion, but not reverting to reality, but moving on to another illusion. So today's meditation is over.
Sort of interesting. Home sweet home.
The Dalai Lama has made the statement that if Buddhism has tried to describe the empirical world in a certain way, and science shows that it's some other way, we should accept the science because that's the process of describing the empirical world. It's never going to challenge the sort of core of Buddhism because the core of Buddhism is just this process of going through. There's no specific single belief about the empirical world. What being Buddhist is, at least for me, is the process. I'm much more concerned about is how can I improve my ethics, improve my awareness, improve the conditions on my life and make myself more skillful. What I'm really interested in right now is these guys' antenna, because an antenna is a, you're not scared of cockroaches, are you?
Not really, I wouldn't want to really touch it.
These antennae are multifunctional sensory organs. So cockroaches will actually use these antennae to track walls as they're running. So they'll stick the antenna out like this, and as they're running along a wall, the antenna will bend against a wall like that. And as the wall turns in or out, the cockroach will be able to track then the movement along the wall. And what I'm particularly interested in is what principles can we understand from, oh, you flew.
That's fine.
That's unusual. Here I thought you actually enjoyed. I'm going to put him back in so he doesn't get too stressed out.
Cool him off.
Yeah.
So you mean the relationship between its sensory input and the way in which it locomotes?
Yes, so how does it take in information about its environment and how does it use its information? So if they're running and they get perturbed, if they get poked in some way, like they run over an uneven surface, then how are they able to correct themselves? How are they able to get back to sort of stable, steady running? So if you stand up for a minute and you have your balance here, and if I give you a push on the left, what's happening is that sensors in your right leg are picking up the fact that more of your weight is now being loaded onto your right leg, And they're sending a signal up into your spine, actually. It doesn't even need to go all the way to your brain.
I got numerous individuals on the road. You want me to take those out?
And if you take a cockroach and you poke it, you can actually, there is this experiment done by several other biomechanists where while it's running, they put a little jetpack on its back. And as the cockroach ran, they fired the jetpack, and it caused the cockroach to torque. So it perturbed the cockroach. Turns out the cockroach began to recover in less than 10 milliseconds, in less than 10 thousandths of a second.
10 seconds. Roger.
It will recover and regain its normal gait without the need to sense its environment. All it needs to do is just keep driving those legs in that alternating tripod gait, and it'll be able to maintain its stability. Well, yeah, and then so that's the really big question for me. Is I just got done telling you that I'm really interested in perception, and it turns out for running, it doesn't look like perception is all that important.
Impact.
And actually, I think it would be unfair to science and to Buddhism to try and force them to be perfectly reconciled, to say that, well, everything that science and Buddhism are just describing the same thing. I don't think that really gives either credit. They're somewhat there's sort of different approaches to trying to investigate our world. One is a spiritual approach, and that's Buddhism. That also I actually see Buddhism as having sort of a broader...
it seems like both have a level at which they're unreconcilable.
Really, I'm just trying to investigate in every possible way that I can what it is to be in this reality that is created around us and by us. And so
One way is science and one way is through Buddhist study.
And they can actually help each other.
Right.
Because science can tell me when... science can shake me out of my... out of looking at things in a certain way.
Lama Surya Das, one of his main teachers is Dujam Rinpoche. So it's one of Sangha Rakshana's teachers. So it's kind of a coming together of many conditions. I mean, you coming from another continent and us receiving something, filling out the refuge tree of the Western Buddhist order.
Dilgo Rinpoche has a stupa in Wu Taishan.
A connection across flow of dharmic energy that brings us together.
And I remember the first time I met you, it was in Manchester. So actually we kind of started from Manchester, England. And then we met the third time at Wu Taishan, you came over. And the friendship sort of keeps much more deepened through that, helping you setting out the solitary in Wu Taishan.
Yeah, we managed to all be in one place for this KM ceremony marking we're trying to make a stronger link in our friendship.
It's very international to say. One from China, one in San Francisco, two from England.
It seems like the relationship has really grown, even though you haven't. In 4 years, we've seen each other once. She came to China.
Yes.
And then here you are in San Francisco, but somehow through email and just keeping each other in mind, it seems like the friendship has actually deepened quite substantially.
Yes. She came over, Dharmotra came over to Wu Tai last year, stayed with me for 3 weeks in this ideal place for solitude, this courtyard house in Wu Taishan. And we would just be, and that's what I benefit from it for the 4 years that I stay in this very simplicity of living in Wu Tai. And that I kind of encourage anybody to do it. It's a very good practice. Yes, and coming here, I felt a very good connection with people here, with the Sangha in San Francisco, and also that appreciation of what I'm doing. Somehow it's like, because they appreciate it, so I appreciate it back.
Yeah, I think you're like our adopted Sangha member. You know, like we've extended San Francisco's mindfulness to include you up in the mountains or wherever you'll be. So I think people won't forget you. They'll keep you in mind. And it sounds like a lot of people are planning on working as solitary in China into their life plans now that they met.
Oh, that's good. That's good. That's good.
I'm actually looking at next year.
Oh, wow. Well, if you're in a cave, yeah.
Yeah.
I will do some
You're clear out a
investigation.
cave for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it seems like there's been a nice exchange. For me to go to the mountains and see your life in the mountains was quite a journey, and it seems equally for you to come down from the mountains and come into San Francisco, which is very different than how you were raised in the West, or your life in the West in England has
Yes.
been quite a journey.
Yes.
And
yes.
it seems like we've both benefited from that.
This is the most heaviest thing I ever carried.
What's your car? Oh, there.
I carry around on the subway, picking on men.
Well, Diana Abbas has a photographic illustration of what you just said.
Oh, yeah.
Trying to do chat. Mid-20s, something like that.
Seinfeld's.
That's it.
It is like it. I think it is.
Have you been out to see your mom yet?
No, I rang this morning because she was in hospital for ages, you know, with pneumonia and a systemic infection. And I actually was packing black clothes for this trip. And then when I rang, she seems to have recovered yet again.
96.
So she's still going.
That's old. But this is going to change, and that's why we left.
Hi Sita, how are you doing?
It's actually, this is kind of rumors. Big upstream
Oh wow. He was very good, and except that he wouldn't let me out of his sight, he kept saying, please be here because I can't understand everything Chacha's saying naturally.
That's great.
Perfect. Yes. Like Michael, you're blocking my face.
What's your hand doing?
Both very uncomfortable because he showed signs of just before the kidney collapse. He's very unsteady on his feet.
And they have any idea what my
Someone ordered cream cheese. Yeah, we ordered cream cheese.
That would be okay. So you tell me about it on Monday. Okay. Okay. So you go for your walk, your bath, and then your walk now. Okay. Take care.
I feel really at home. And I felt that ever since I've been here. And, you know, I feel as the FWBO is here in the States. I mean, this is in a way the main city in the States. We should be here. And there's 22 million people in the metropolitan area. And I'm the only order member, so I'm outnumbered.
I feel like I grew up here, my internal growing up. And I'm not done with that yet, so I live here. But I've met wonderful people, and I can do the learning, and that's what it is for me. My Sangha is here. My relationship with Faye it's a very important one. We met in the meditation group at FWBO, and it turned out that, oh, she's a choreographer and dancer, and I'm a dancer, and she's a massage therapist, and I'm a massage therapist. Our background is very similar. She's just been doing it for years longer, and her life experience is so much more vast than mine.
am a teacher and a director, so I'm in charge of groups of people, and I work for different institutions. I'm very shy about getting involved in a Sangha, in a group.
Really okay. Yeah, how you been? A self-hating Aryan.
What's your name?
Greta.
Greta? Yes. You're like thinking it's time for the meet.
Right.
Right? I feel like I'm in a place of service, and that it's extremely therapeutic. Using the 7th chakra system, like the name of it is the lucid body because it's trying to make people's physical personas more lucid so that they understand and are not victims of behavior that they're unconscious to. So it's a very similar, I have my class sitting. That's the beginning of the class. And it's all about directing focus inward, discovering that which is in your way, and releasing it in a scene, in sound, so that it's not inhibiting your health, your emotional health, your physical life.
You feel like you are it.
I feel very devoted to that healing process in everything, whether it's massage or whether it's creating an art piece. It has a role in society which should make people see themselves. And that is relieving their pain, because if they see themselves, they can understand themselves on a deeper level and then maybe make a small change in their life. I think one of my problems is that I said overproductive and too many people. I try, and the silence of meditation, which I try to do daily in the mornings before I leave, that's something that I'm committed to.
Thank you.
Good. It was a good structure. Okay.
Give me 1 second.
I love being here. As I sometimes say, I'm here to witness the decline of the American empire. And by that, I mean the continual cutback in all companies here. Companies are downsizing, and people are expected to do more and more, and so the demand on the staff is going up. And there's a number of signs, like the number of products that come from China. No, I think when people are ready to be ordained, they should be ordained. My hesitation is about what they're getting ordained into.
I've established a relationship with the Sangha New York, so that when I do visit my mother, which is usually every year, I also make time for the Sangha, and they're very appreciative of that because they don't have a Dhammacharini available to them in New York. And me being a New Yorker in my bones, I feel at home in the city. And then Wednesday I'm meeting Martin at the Met at 1. So if you want to come to see this Diana bus.
I do alone with us.
So you don't want to be alone with me?
No.
Oh.
It's so scary.
So I spend a lot of time talking on the phone. Like Vidya Jyoti and I have a very strong friendship. She's been a tremendous love and support and teacher for me. She's really a spiritual mentor in all her crazy ways. I really respect her, and she's helped me a lot. And we visit each other.
Everyone should have my problems.
Everybody gets your problem.
There is, that's another way of putting it, but there's a Jewish story. So the rabbi asked them, everybody put their own problems on a tree, and then you can go and pick whatever problems you want off the tree.
Good.
And everybody picked their own problems.
Wow.
Yeah.
Story. So you gotta say hello to me properly.
I want to be in this piece with background shoes on. I know. The dinosaur.
So you were sick while you were teaching?
Yeah, this the first day.
And by the second
So
day I
fifth
had-
chakra. Fifth chakra.
Yeah, it was the most stuff I
Oh, God. That was terrible.
Yeah,
Sita and I will love seeing theater together. And she and I will make a point of having a meal or having coffee. It's funny in New York, you gotta keep juggling the people in your life. And you certainly can't see everybody weekly. But if you can see everyone once a month, like a quality time. It was a dance class, right?
It was
just a dance class?
called a modern dance class. But first of all, I was very creative and very connected to what they needed, which is what I wanted to do, because each group is so different. And then what I did with them worked in Bombay.
Yeah, that is very satisfying. I mean, makes me feel like I'm doing good service in the world.
Yeah. Do that.
Did you include meditation?
I made them a lot observing your thoughts and centering, noticing which ones are useful, noticing how much they come and how fast they come and how useful they are, and coming back to the breath. But I never told them they were meditating.
But it's been really it's helped me through. It's just been a very difficult month. Just totally. I mean, Ella was here, and then when Ella left and he was gone, and we were in no contact, it felt like my arm was gone. You know, we fell in love so deeply. So connecting to that, the idea of, in meditation, the separateness of self, that I am separate, and that, you know, you hook into people with like in empty spaces, and you want them to fill those empty spaces.
But that my difficulty with that is because I want to believe in love, and a huge part of me is a huge romantic. It just doesn't go so much with the practice, because it just comes down to filling empty spaces and attachment.
That what meditation and the practice is doing is saying, I am a complete person without anyone. Doesn't mean I don't want sexual friends, but that seems to be the... So, have I gone to a lot of meetings? No.
Meetings? What meetings?
The Sangha nights.
Tuesday, no?
Haven't. For professional reasons, I had to.
There must be this dial a pizza, dial a steak, dial a anything. I know, you ring up, you order a Chinese meal, and you say, but keep the food, just bring the tea.
You think we should phone up and ask for Chinese, and they keep the Chinese and we just have the tea? We do it on your credit card then.
They have teacups, and you don't have to drink them out of plastic cups either. I don't want you to think I'm obsessive or anything. You know that I'm
It's a little late. It's a little late for that. Okay, Harsha Prabha, lovely to talk to you. And I'm going to follow up my architect connection here, just in case. You never know, and they may have a job for you here too. People work so many hours here. The professionals tend to work long hours, and the lower paid workers work 2 jobs. So there's many people working 14, 16-hour days here. Most jobs only have 2 weeks vacation a year.
4 planes changed our world, changed the attitude, changed everything. Welcome to New York.
To struggle to meet what I have as a job and a family life and balance it occupies all of my time, from 6 in the morning till 11:30, 12 at night. I work as a scientist and an engineer, and like many small startup companies in sore need of money, we went out in pursuit of venture capital funding and sold our souls to the devil. I'm making an infrared sensor for imaging, which could offer inexpensively. Every fireman could have a little, visor on their helmet where they could look at a building and know where in the building it's burning. But the people that are most recently knocking on my door are interested in building smarter and smarter weapons. I left my last job because of that. And once again, I want to do this, but the only guy that's willing to pay for it right now wants to develop it as a weapon. And our world, especially in this country today, we find ourselves at war, and our government is spending money left and right and that kind of technology. And it's difficult to be mindful of your choices. It really takes pulling away from some of that and getting into a space where you can reflect on, where you are, what you're doing. So I'm using this as an opportunity to deepen my practice, to come to a better place of balance and experience what it's like to breathe and hear and be able to listen and be beyond the point of reacting.
Prison is the greatest place to study. If you got to, well, I recommend it, but I mean, if you have to study at prison, I mean, that's the place to study. It really is, because you have to.
Charlie Johnson is actually one of the main guys that got me up there in the first place. I was doing a meditation piece for the drug and alcohol program. He had a small Dharma group going. So from that group, we started getting other inmates coming along.
When you're in the prison at night, your doors are slammed. You've got people around who maybe aren't interested in meditation.
I lived with a Muslim. He did his prayers all the time. So when it was time for him to pray, I would leave the room. If I decided to sit, he would give me my respect and just leave the room so I could sit. So I've been kind of blessed with that through my whole bid, 14 years.
I can't even imagine what it's like coming 13 years behind bars and coming out. Difficult for him anyways. Going from that into the real world is a huge shock. While he was at the halfway house, still incarcerated, couldn't leave the grounds, etc. At the halfway house, his wife died. He chose to see her in the hospital. Of course, they transport him in leg irons and the whole 9 yards. He did get to see her, he thinks. She had a glimmer of, he was standing next to her and they weren't in a prison visiting room.
After I got out of the prison, I went to the halfway house. My very first outing was to the mall.
They warned him not to go alone, but he said, no problem.
When I got to the mall, it was like, I felt like everybody was looking at me. Everybody knew that I just got out of prison. Everybody knew that, there's something up with this guy right here.
This is a guy that's like 6'2", about 240 pounds, lifts weights, and very black. This is in the New Hampshire Mall, upper middle class white mall, and they're all looking at him. They said he looked around. He said they were actually scared of him.
Security walked by and I just freaked out. I just
You got paranoid about.
I got super paranoid, and it's just like I made a call back to the halfway house. So I just told him, I said, listen, I want to come back in. He says, well, you're not coming in yet because you're 2 hours early. But I just told him, listen, I have to come in.
So I said, he put the phone down, walked outside, and sat on the curb and waited for the ride to come.
I was a nervous wreck, man. I was like, I just didn't know how to handle it. That was my first time out.
I was at the first Mitra ceremony in the prison, and your Mitra ceremony, which was at Ariloka. So it's kind of nice to be able to make it.
I have those pictures. I just got those when I went up to Ariloka, those Mitra pictures. Yeah, I was looking
at
that
night.
Like, we did it in the men's the community in their shrine room one night with Taradama and Amaradeva and a few other people. It just blew him away. And the people were just so warm to him and open to him, and he was just like on cloud nine.
Why do we conform? We're here at Sun Lakes Resort.
Finding where
mean, I don't think it's all roses.
FWBO, when we got in touch with them, that's where the guidance came from. That's where the light got turned on, kind of.
Yeah.
You know, that's where things really started happening. I had a purpose. Oh, there is a purpose.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? So this is what it is now. And now it's coming to me. It's being given to me. So I want to take it. I want to understand it. And I want to live it. And that's how it is. You know, Dave was like, "Oh, you started this, and you know, this is
what."
It's not about me starting anything.
No, the Dharma is timeless.
I don't really belong in India, and yet I am Indian, and I don't really belong anywhere else in the world, so New York seems a bit perfect for me, you know. Everybody's from somewhere else. It's very rich with people questioning. It seems to attract people from all over the world, and I fit in really well. A lot of my closest spiritual friends are not in New York anymore. They were around when I really needed them, but most of them have moved out now.
It's always amazing every time he comes over here, the quiet. He's not used to quiet. The quiet always gets him in the meditation room, because in prison there is never ever any quiet at all. So that always gets him when he sits here in the absolute quiet. Really blows him away. So, yeah.